Hi guys, welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. We are speaking Twin Mirror. Jack and I are playing the game fresh. We've never played it before, so we'll get stuck straight in. We've just got to Anna's house where there's a break-in, and I mean, early doors, Jack. We're already presented with a pretty big choice, right? Where I guess you don't want to upset the father. But he poses a pretty big question on us, like, "I'll keep her safe. Like, tell me if anything's happened." Early doors, mate. What did you pick here?
Yeah, I did promise it to him. I was just thinking to myself, like, what's the alternative? Is that I'm just gonna say, yeah, no, I can't guarantee that. He's gonna flip his lid. I feel like at this point I've recruited Anna, and it felt like it was gonna be one of those choices that ultimately didn't matter. So I just thought I'd go along and do the moral thing, mate. What about you?
I picked the opposite. I said nah. And by the way Sam worded it, I quite liked that I said it. Because I want Anna to be safe, but she's her own person. I can't promise that. And what was really surprising as well is that only 17% of people picked that. So it was a very minority decision, which is like really interesting. I quite like that. So like, maybe we'll get two different ending, like a different ending each, which would be really cool. But I do agree. It almost felt like maybe that's a nothing choice right there. So yeah, we'll have to see how that affects the game. But yeah, mate, I mean, I'll just pass the mic to you. Like, tell us everything about when you're going around here, if looking on the outside of the house, the inside, before we get Anna a drink. What did you think about surveying the house here?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's not too much until you go upstairs. There's not too much to comment on, really, because obviously you're having this conversation with her. She's clearly upset, and you've got this moment where you can go and get her a drink. I think I got her like a chocolate milk or something. What were the choices? Chocolate milk, lime juice, and I can't remember what the last one was.
Oh, whiskey.
Oh, was it whiskey? I was like, yeah, maybe booze isn't the best thing. Like, I was like, you know what? I'll fuck it. I'll play it straight because I'm like wrapped up in this story now. So I just got her a chocolate milk. And but one thing I did spot. I don't know if you saw this, mate, but you could look at the fridge, and there was like a fridge magnet of like the country of France, and obviously it was done in like the French flag. And if you look at it, I've got a quote written down here. Sam says, "Life is just too strange for me" there. And I just thought, that just like another nice little nod to Life is Strange, which I found there is actually a couple of little nods in these like chapters that we're going to talk about. Did you get that?
To be honest, the Easter egg went over my head, but I think I was more just fuming about it. You know me, I'm a lover of the country of France, so I just was like, Sam, how dare you, mate? But yeah, no, that is a really cool Easter egg. That's a really nice spot there. For myself, a few things I found interesting was the... also, I picked the lime juice, but I think this is a nothing choice. You get a lot of sort of dialogue with your subconscious here. You can finally go up and talk to him, and when it highlights over him, his name is him. So it's very ambiguous about who he is. There's a lot more development, which I will get into with this guy in this episode. But yeah, I just thought, really interesting that they've deliberately left the name out. So, we'll have to really discover what this guy's about completely. When I was going around here, I was really trying to get the intention of this break-in, like what it was about, because the guy was like breaking plant pots, like picture frames. I thought originally I was like, this guy's trying to find something, but he destroyed so much that I'm like, I think this guy's trying to threaten Anna. And I was a little confused because I was like, whoever this is like, if it's the same person as the killer, then they're attacking people who are getting too close to whatever this mystery is. Yeah. But I was thinking there, like, well, Anna's not really doing that. She's kind of like a bit of a kind of like with you, trying to dig with you, like, kind of fresh. So yeah, I was a little bit confused by the investigation, but I guess, we do find more when we go upstairs, don't we?
That's right. And you know what? Before we do that, there is another one. I don't know whether it is an Easter egg or not. It could be clutching at straws, but when you're walking around the front room, you can pick up, is it like this newspaper article or this article that talks about this art contest that Anna was supposedly like judging like one of the children on, and it just made me think back to like the Everyday Heroes contest, like for the photography thing in Life is Strange as well. So like there's just like these little things in there that I don't know if they're intentionally meant to be linked to Life is Strange, but I think because we've already mentioned so many parallels already, that naturally it's just in the forefront of my mind. So I thought that was a nice little touch. But yeah, I mean, you're right, of course. We then go upstairs and we have a look around, and we ultimately find that the assailant, whoever it is, was still in the house, right? Because you bend down, you see that they're downloading something off Nick's laptop, and then you get hit over the back of the head and you see this figure leave the room. Which, to be honest, I felt like it needed, because this whole section, it seems like we have got this bit pattern at the moment where like the first section we play in the game or in the episode is quite slow and dialogue heavy, and then it seems to get to the more interesting crime reconstructions later on, which you could argue is it's balanced that way. But yeah, it certainly needed it. It needed that sort of sense of like, oh, shit, like I wasn't expecting that, because it was fairly slow paced.
I agree. We do get the dialogue section with Anna, which I was pretty proud of, because I feel like I was knocking out the park with the right answer. She felt listened to. Part of me was tempted to be really chaotic again, but I've decided against it. But it does feel like Anna's truly on my side. A load of people in my stream are wondering maybe she's an accomplice. And it is a possibility that I am not ruling out, but I just don't think that's the case. I am going to say it here and now, but I do trust Anna. I don't know if you feel the same.
I do, mate. And you know what? As a quick question, when you are talking to Anna, and you've got the dialogue options that come up, there's a few times where you can click ask him, isn't there? In your alter ego. Did you hit that at any point?
I did, because I was really curious as to see what it was about. And to be honest, it just felt like a hint thing, really. Whenever you picked it, he said stuff like, oh, she wants to be heard right now and she wants comfort. And a lot of the dialogue choices are things like, oh, I'm never going to say that in a million years. It's making it about myself or whatever, or they're really insensitive. So I think I would have done it without it. But yeah, it just felt like a little prompt thing. But it was a nice little welcome feature there. How about you?
See, I didn't. And I got an achievement for it.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so like if you'd never ask for his advice, because yeah, you're right, like it felt like that I was saying all the right things. There was one time where he said, be careful, don't take anything out on her, just listen to her, just basically show her some warmth, and I did that. I said all the right things, and then when I saw it said ask him, I was like, no, I don't really need to. And then an achievement popped, and it was like, yeah, you got through the conversation with Anna without asking for his advice. So yeah, it all seemed to go wrong then.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where I did it out of curiosity, to be honest. But yeah, I didn't realise that was what would happen. But sweet. When we go upstairs as well, even downstairs, there's a section where you look at the desk or whatever. But you can enter these mind palace things, right? And they're quite nice. You get to relive memories with Anna where you were happy. There's the moment where you're in bed one morning and you're getting a massage or whatever. I really like the transition between the really angelic white kind of palette with it's all crystal and glass, and then you go back to reality where obviously broken house with glass all over the floor and stuff. And I really like the transition and how the color palette changes. It really makes Sam's mind palace feel like a different world, which is really cool. Kind of from the stream as well, I think it was Casey who proper pointed out, oh, that laptop could be a clue. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Whoever came in here is looking for that laptop. We saw it in the Mind Palace. And the moment I saw that, I was locked on, we need to find this laptop. Yeah. And of course, yeah, as you say, you get to the final bedroom and there's a laptop there. And I thought to myself, well, why hasn't it been taken? And obviously, yeah, we find out it's mid-download. There's a memory stick in it. Someone's trying to steal data. And yeah, we get assaulted, don't we? Like you say, it felt like Connor and Detroit Become Human with someone hiding in the attic again. That's what that reminded me of. But yeah, I tried to kind of look at who the figure was, and first I saw a green coat, and I thought Walter, and I thought you could be onto something here. And if it's to do with articles and the whole writing thing, it might be that there's a link, and you're right. But when they ran out, they looked quite slender, didn't they? So I instantly ruled it out, and I was looking in the itinerary, or like like at all the different characters, and I was thinking like, it's either my guy Hugh or Ethan, the barman,
Right.
or Declan, the police officer. I think I was like, it must be one of those three. I don't know if you were drawing any conclusions at this point, mate.
I was, and honestly, the thinking was exactly the same, because obviously I've been, predicting Walter, right? I saw the green jacket, I saw the guy was moving quick, and I was like, probably not. But then I thought of your theory, Hugh, and I was like, Sam commented about him before, like how he was elderly and stuff, and I was like, is this guy someone that's moving quick? So honestly, like after that whole scene, I was a little bit puzzled again. I was thinking, I suppose the thinking could still be that, the person that hit you over the head was just like a pawn for someone else, somebody else told them to go and take it or whatever. But yeah, like my whole Walter theory was, I was going a little bit cold on it, to be honest.
Yeah, before we move on, I just wanted to address the writing on the mirror. Another Life is Strange reference. It reminded me of Kate's video link.
Yeah.
Did you wipe it off?
No, I left it. I didn't know you could wipe it off.
Yeah, so you can do, and I didn't because I thought to myself, nah, you know what? Like, I don't want to contaminate a crime scene. I feel like he made a point about, if I get rid of it, it'll get rid of the handwriting of whoever did this.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, that's true. I want the cops to find that. However, I then thought back, actually, the cops are probably dirty here. I don't know if I, trust this Best girl because, of what we saw in the car scene, right? It, almost felt like the evidence got falsified saying that Nick was potentially under the influence of alcohol. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have wiped that off, actually. But I don't know. But either way, we'll see what all comes of it by the fact that we haven't wiped it off. So I guess afterwards, mate, the police, knock on the door, right?
Yeah.
And I've just got to say, I felt this whole scene was just really weird. You're at the bottom of the stairs talking really loudly, saying oh, you should probably go. And I'm like, there is literally a crack in the glass in the front door, no more than 2 meters away from her. A, why isn't the cop looking through the glass, listening out at you? B, there's no way you should have just just snuck out and been that loud. But also, I kind of wanted to stand my ground and explain myself, but it doesn't give you the option to do that. I don't know what you thought about this scene as well, mate.
It did, yeah. You know what? It's even made worse because I didn't even remember the fact, that there was broken glass or like you say, a crack in the door for the cop to hear everything. But it did, it did cross my mind. I was thinking, guys, keep the noise down. There's literally a cop right there. You're taking ages to answer the door. And even when he goes to the back of the house and he just sort of stands there and looks back, and I'm like, Sam, get the fuck out of there, man! What are you doing? Just hanging around. But yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? But hey ho, we nitpick these things for our own entertainment. It's just part of the channel ethos, I guess.
It is. We do. I guess should we move on to the fishing spot, mate? The hidden cabin.
Let's go there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess before we get stuck in there, there's a cool mine palace before we get in, but I mean, the main crux of what we see is we find Jo in there stealing tins and stuff and money, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna run away, kid. How did your dialogue go here? Because it does look like this can affect the game somehow, because it does bleed into a major choice. I'll just let you take this one away, mate.
Yeah, so because obviously your alter ego pops up, doesn't he? And he's giving you advice. He's saying, she's a child, you shouldn't burden her with this stuff. Of course, as well, what's she gonna do once you tell her she's gonna try and go and avenge her dad's death? Is that such a good idea? Which, to be honest, I was thinking to myself, he's got a point in a way. But I felt like the scene was getting taken away from me. She was still packing her bags. She was ready to march out. And it sort of come up with this final choice, whether I told the truth or not. And in the end, I ignored the alter ego, and I just straight up told her the truth. I said, Nick's been an accident. It does look like he was murdered. And she seemed to warm to it, and then the dialogue went to a place where he said, look, I've told you that, but you've got to, lay low, essentially, keep quiet, don't be investigating, and just go home and go to your mum, And then she seemed to agree. So it's funny, it's something I was going to raise, like whether it was this choice or any other choices we've made. It'll be interesting to see come the end of this game which choices in these earlier sections, if any, are important when it comes to the end game. But it feels like this one could be. I don't know why.
I completely agree. It's interesting. I pretty much had a similar conclusion to you, but probably a different pathway, because I was speaking to her and I said, is everything okay at home? It looked like the dialogue was going well. And then I think whether I picked the right one or not, I feel like she didn't like it regardless, because she brought up a previous choice that I did, where earlier when I was pissing about on the street in Basswood, I cut her off and interrupted her as a joke.
Oh, right, yeah.
And she brought that up. She's like, yeah, you cut me off earlier. You don't listen to me. Like, I'm running away like you ran away. And I'm like, so that, me interrupting her affected this dialogue, which I thought was really cool. I was a bit like, I probably should have been a bit more serious then. But also that is cool that tiny little choice there affected this scene. So I feel like I was doomed. No matter what I chose, she ran out the door. But you get a second choice saying, like, do you tell her about the investigation, or do you ignore it and, say, like, I'm going to call your mum or whatever? And I let her in as well, so I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. But it was more because I got put into a corner where I felt like I had to. By doing this, I feel like, oh God, like, she knows stuff now that she probably shouldn't, because being a kid and it's her dad, she's going to probably be really erratic with this information, do something, put her nose where it doesn't belong, put herself in danger. Like, I can see her getting kidnapped later on in the story, or just something random like that, and I'm like, I hate that you know this information now. But I didn't want to give her the info, but I felt like I had to, mate.
Agreed. You know what? You've just reminded me of something as well, because she called me out. It wasn't for what you said, but it was basically... Was she talking about when I was at the wake or something? But I promised her to go and investigate.
Yeah.
Basically, there was times when I did probe for information, but a lot of the time I didn't, right? Because at a wake, it's perhaps not the best thing to do. She'd called me out for that. She basically said, I saw what you did, by the way. As soon as it got a little bit tough and a little bit awkward in asking for information, you backed out. And I was like, damn, Bug, like, she has called me out here, like, fair play to her. And that's what prompted the conversation to get a little bit awkward. So I would be interested to know, like, in this game, if at the wake you went round and you probed for information from everyone, whether she would be, like, really nice to you for that whole conversation, or whether, it's sort of, like, scripted for her to lose her shit at you still. But yeah,
it makes me believe that it is a bit of a nothing choice, because it's almost like mine was valid. I'm like, that's cool, my choice has affected something there, but you telling me that makes me think that she calls you out on something else, like, more minor. So, like, we'll have to see. Like you say, it'll be interesting to see these choices when we come back. But yeah, it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't look great, does it? Like, if that is the case.
Yeah.
I looked at the choices afterwards, though, the stats. It goes, Joan has to stay. Desperate to convince Joan to go home, I told her the truth about her father's death. 24% of people did that. So we are in the minority, which might make this really interesting, mate.
Ooh, right.
Only 25% of people failed to talk her out of running away. So, like, I failed the initial thing, and then I was forced to tell her. But I was in the minority with both there, but I feel like whether I had the right dialogue or not, I'm unsure. But it was mainly because I interrupted her earlier, and I almost set myself up to fail. Almost like, Chris shooting Ashley in Until Dawn. Like, there was no way I could have got out of that, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, really interesting, though, this whole bug scene. Like, either way, like, we talked her out of not going, running away with her stupid plan of cycling to Virginia or whatever. But we get to investigate around this shack, don't we?
We do, and I mean, it was a nice little sequence. Of course, you get to go round there was the key, wasn't there? That was hidden like in the fish on the wall that ultimately opens the locker. And I mean, the things you find in there, there's opioids that are in like Kathy's name. And obviously, because this is Nick's shack, I was thinking, is he like just stolen his wife's medication there? There's a calendar that obviously shows like the meeting with what I assumed was Dennis, because it said like meeting with D. But obviously, as we explain in a minute, that could actually mean someone else. I suppose the main thing I wanted to talk about in this bit was that I did have difficulty with that caterpillar puzzle. So when I first went into the shack, one of the first things I looked at was the caterpillar. And I think because a bit of time had passed, I'd done the whole locker thing, I'd spoke to Joan, I'd even like opened the back door and walked out by the pier and that, I forgot about the caterpillar. So when I ultimately got the fishing bag out and you had the 3 things to look at, I was just looking at this thing like completely puzzled. I was like, what the hell do I do? And it's sort of like the yellow, the red, the green and the blue, it all married up with like my Xbox controllers, like, or the buttons rather. I was thinking, what do you do? So I just randomly just guessed, and obviously I fucked up. It was only then that I thought, you know what, let's just explore around the room like I did with that other puzzle, you know, in Nick's office where you have to find the number.
Yeah.
And then, hey presto, I saw it and I was like, oh right, that's literally got to be it. And then it was after that I found out that you actually could get an achievement if you got it first time. So sort of sucks. It basically means, are you gonna have to like replay the entire game in order to get that achievement, or will there be a chapter select thing? I'm not sure, but yeah, it was an okay section, mate.
Yeah, like really interesting, and I agree with the puzzle. Like, the main like crux of what I struggled with was knowing that you had to pick up the fishing bag. It was at this point when my stream crashed 3 times, so apologies for that again if you watched it on the stream. But yeah, I kind of knew what to do with the caterpillar right away, but what sucked for me is, like, obviously you told me in the stream because you watched me do this bit, right? But like, I knew exactly what to do, but when you get into like the lock, you can't back out, because I was like, oh, it's the other way around. I have to look at the poster again to memorize the color order. Yeah. I memorized which one was up, which one was left, which one was right, which one was down, but not the order of the colors of the caterpillar. So I had to go out and come back in, and because like to back out I couldn't do it, so I just had to guess randomly, and then I got it on my second try. I didn't know there was a trophy there until you told me, but I'm like, oh, that is frustrating. Like, you know, if I feel like there maybe should have been like a back out clause there. But it's really interesting because, yeah, obviously you see these opioids. You mentioned Kathy. We obviously saw her sneak some drugs behind the till back at the pharmacy, so it explains a bit more about that. I'm really eager to talk to Kathy again, kind of get to know a bit more about her. I feel like she might have a key part in this story, which I'm really intrigued to see. But yeah, we get the case widens, doesn't it, when we have 3 sort of people in front of us and we have to pick who's who. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's really easy to work out where the whole line where it's like, oh, this guy's Richard equals Dickie equals D. We keep seeing these things about, oh, I'm having a meeting with D, and then it, you know, this is what it basically means. I feel like I would have got it regardless, though, because I clocked him right away. He is the little brat I stood up to in the pharmacy. I don't know if you saw that as well, mate.
Yes. No, I did. As soon as I saw his face on the thing, I was like, hey, I recognise you. Like, I ran into you in the pharmacy. So immediately, before I even looked at the names, I was thinking it's going to be him because it just makes sense narratively, you know. But then, of course, yeah, the Richard, the Dickie, the D, yeah, it all made sense. So very quick through that bit, mate. Dead easy.
Yeah, no, of course. Then we obviously text Anna because, like, we find out about this place called the Cove, right? Which is where a lot of bad eggs are. Maybe not bad eggs. A lot of like people who lost their jobs, like old gang members and stuff, who get taken into this private commune. So we talk to Anna, and then, you know, you're on about both going there. Whether there's like some text options, but I assume we have to go there with her together, I assume. Before we get to the Cove, mate, I just want to touch a little bit on the car drive with Anna, with him in the background.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, mate, but it was at this point where I really started to turn against him, because it kind of, the dialogue makes you sort of, while Anna's talking, you have to listen to her, but then him in the background is talking again. and you almost have to pick which one to go for. Now, I don't know about you, but I chose Anna on every occasion. The guy in the back seats, I was literally like fed up of hearing him, and I was like, I need to listen to her. She's like upset, and it's the first time I've actually sort of ever disagreed with my alter ego or my subconscious or whatever that was. But yeah, I just wanted your thoughts on this whole section.
Oh, interesting. I mean, for me, I think that I listened to her first, and then he started propping up again and said, oh, you know, you need to be careful. You know, you're going into the lion's den, you know, X, Y, and Z. You don't know these people and stuff. So when it popped up the second time, I chose to listen to him. And then it come up that third time, listen to Anna or listen to him. And you're right, like this guy was just banging on for ages, and he started to say, from what I can remember, some pretty like dark and like, you know, weird stuff. So I was like, no, you know what, I'm gonna like listen to Anna at this point. But I totally get you. He then says something like, oh, you obviously don't need my advice anymore, and then he disappears. So I don't know if that's him gone for the rest of the game. I really don't know. I doubt it, but yeah, like it was a bit of an odd one.
Yeah, it's the first time I've really sided against him, and it's interesting because I've agreed with the guy so far. He's kind of like your level-headed, logical, kind of like, you know, got person or voice in the back of your mind, really. So I've always leaned on him, you know. And I don't know, random little theory that I've drawn up is that I know that Sam takes medication, and it might be that because like our meds were empty at the start of the day, that we're off them. Maybe this guy maybe starts to turn evil or puts doubts in your mind or something like that, as like the longer we go on without like not having our meds. So maybe like we'll start to see a darker side of him. Could be random, could be completely way off, but you know, that's one sort of parallel I'm drawing. I'm thinking just because he's level-headed, he is a part of our mind clearly, and our mind can play tricks on us. So part of me doesn't fully trust this guy. I don't know what you think of that.
No, there's certainly something to it. I mean, they've, you know, even talked about the fishing shack, Kathy at the pharmacy. Obviously, we know that there's opioids, there's, you know, drug use. We know that, you know, jumping ahead a little bit, that there is a drug ring coming up later on, presumably in this story. So perhaps it does have some involvement. Perhaps it's to do, yeah, maybe Sam is taking something that's, you know, from that, you know, from that realm, or maybe it just has some sort of wider involvement in the plot. I really don't know, mate. So it's a good shout.
Nah, very true, mate. So we'll go to our final location in this analysis episode, which is none other than the Cove. So we meet all the people that we look at the case files with earlier, and then this Lynette girl, as well as an extra girl called Kayla, I believe her name was. So one thing that we've both agreed on, right, is that we saw parallels with other games of this whole location here. The first thing I noticed was it really reminded me of the Quarry. You have a campfire, and then across the water there's an island, and I'm like, this just looks like where people play Truth or Dare, like at the Quarry. And another thing that you also noticed as well is it's very Life is Strange too, like with the little private commune of people getting away from society, with a little bit of a drug theme going on. Yeah, you noticed that as well, didn't you?
100%, yeah. Again, obviously another Life is Strange reference. I thought, yeah, they're somewhat outsiders of society, whether they've been just, you know, forgotten about, or like you say, yeah, they've lost their jobs or whatever. You've got trailers, it's in and amongst trees. And you know what, you've touched on, you know, this particular location. What I've got to say, it's similar to like the shack with like the fog hovering above the water. Some of the locations in this game, they are beautiful. They're, for some reason, I almost look at them like as quite understated, but like they're, I don't know, they are incredibly immersive. There is a lot of variation there, whether it is the fog by the fishing shack, or whether it's like the hustle and bustle of like the bar at the beginning of the game, or like the very busy office with all like the files and things. Like, we're certainly getting variation. It's not like that I'm noticing it, but it's like almost now that I'm sat here talking about that and thinking back, I'm like, we are getting some really nice moments thinking about it. Even up like the drive up to Thingy's house, Anna's house. I was like, damn, this is a nice house. I wouldn't mind living here, like with all these gardens and things.
Completely. No, it does look stunning. Even like when you look like around at the cove and you look in all the different sort of like tents, like there's some real characters and like unique personalization with each one. Because like the first person we meet, right, is Kayla, who has this stunning like woodwork thing going on with the bears, the fox, the owl. Like there's so much character within her tent. And I really like this girl. She was like not completely evil at us, but she had like, you know, nice bit of like, you know, character and bite to her, which I appreciated. We meet all the people in our case files, don't we? Minus the guy that we're looking for. And obviously quite a hostile relationship on the most part, especially from the men here. Is it Tyler and Justin, I think they're called? Yeah, some nasty eggs, but I guess like, you know, there's the whole sentiment of the town that we're the reporter that like ruined a lot of lives apparently. So like, I guess I completely understand the sentiment. So I guess the first thing you're trying to do, right, is find this Dickie guy. And I don't know about you, but I clocked on right away. The moment I just was like, I reckon, because I've got to look at all these different trailers, I reckon I'm looking for a quad bike, you know. And behold, there's one with a quad bike there, and I'm like, yeah, there it is. I don't know if you struggle a little bit with this, or if you found it super easy.
No, to be honest, it was just pure instinct. There was a conversation I had with Lynette, and it made me think, oh, he's going to be in a trailer that's a little bit off from where everybody else is. But as I was walking around the camp, I could see one. I didn't even spot the quad bike, so on a part, it was partly a lucky guess on my part. But the trailer, it had some like hanging lights by it, whereas the other ones didn't stand out so much. And I was like, is this the game's subtle way of telling me that that's it right there? So I picked that one, and it was then that Sam said, yeah, there's the quad bike, that's got to be it. And I was like, oh Christ, yeah, there's the quad bike, like I didn't even clock it.
Oh, nice, yeah. Oh, that's fair, yeah, because I didn't know if I'd get one shot at it, so I really wanted to take my time, and I was like, I'm going to look for the one with the quad bike. I reckon that's the key. And but yeah, like, obviously, we want to go up to talk to him, but the two men here are acting, you know, like bouncers, and we can't get through. And then it initiates this whole, I mean, I guess our next case thing. Should we talk about the distraction scene, mate?
Yeah, I mean, how did it go? Obviously, you've got to like walk around first, haven't you? You've got to pick a hiding spot, whether it's in the metal cabinet, whether it's behind the curtain or under the table. I was thinking that it surely can't be under the table because you'd get spotted straight away. Metal cabinet, I don't know, it felt a bit dangerous. So like for me, it was always to go behind the curtain. And then of course you had to like either hide the keys or what was it? You had to like tamper with the hose, didn't you? And I think for me, I chose Anna to deal with the keys first because I felt like that was less responsibility because I felt somewhat guilty because obviously she's got like a relationship with these people. To then just randomly go up to her and be like, yeah, in order to get to this guy, we're gonna have to like fuck some shit up here. So I was like, I'll just give her the responsibility of, you know, just taking the keys and hiding them. I'll be the one that actually does the physical damage with, you know, tampering with the hose. But then as I played it out, I like to do this a couple of times. It would be a situation where I would get to like the hiding spot, but then I'd always get spotted, whether it was from JR or Justin, whatever his name is, or from someone else. So I was like, right, I need to change that to when I'm alone, that bit, you know, when you come out. And then I changed the other one to like me hiding the keys and she doing the tampering with the hose. And then it seemed to work out from there because then I think what they did is they just somehow got to the fire extinguisher and maybe took like the bucket of sand or something. And that gave me enough time to scarp her and get up to Dickie's trailer.
Yeah, no, it certainly took me a few tries, but I quite like it. It was really interesting looking at all the failed versions, and I knew off the bat I wanted to hide behind the curtain in the pantry, which is a good thing because later on you find out that Lynette goes through the metal cupboard, so it definitely would have been that one. I didn't even dare look at the table, but it would have been really funny to have seen what happens if you do that. And same as you, I went fire extinguisher first. I didn't really understand that you would be doing one while Anna would be doing the other. So like, I was like, well, we got to do the van. He keeps banging on about this fire extinguisher. It has to be that, surely. So I kept going for that one, and I thought, yeah, fire extinguisher is more effective than a hose, surely. So surely it makes sense to get rid of the fire extinguisher first. So we need to hide the keys. But whenever you kept doing it, like one person would narrowly spot you as you left, right? So I kept thinking I was doing the last one wrong of, when to leave the cabin. And yeah, like just nothing worked. So I was like, okay, so let's try everything again from scratch with the hose. And yeah, like then it ends up well, and then we managed to get that going. But yeah, really fun section. But before we like carry on, really, I just wanted to sort of say, and the people watching the stream with me agreed as well, and I think you feel the same sentiment. I was just thinking, surely it makes more sense to ask Anna, who is quite liked and respected by these people, to go up to Dickie's caravan with you, and she could talk them down, rather than do this whole elaborate plan to burn these like beautiful wooden sculptures that poor innocent Kayla, who like really nice girl by the way, who didn't give you grief like what like the men did, has like crafted. And then you're gonna burn them on like you've only known these people 15 minutes and you're already like talking about burning the place down to talk to someone at a trailer. Like he didn't have to go that kind of like arsonist for a conversation. It just felt really weird, and it felt even weirder that Anna agreed to it. I don't know if you thought the same.
Yeah, it is very flawed, isn't it? I was thinking about this because you know what, it might have been a little bit more palatable if like one of the guys had carved the bears or something. Even then it would be a bit of a stretch, but maybe to improve that bit you could have had a choice. You could either burn the bears, or you could, I don't know, loosen a screw or something so that one of the trailers or like something fell into the lake and they were distracted that way. But yeah, like it was unfair, and I even because there's like so few people there, people would be thinking like, why the fuck, is like this bear just randomly been set alight? The only thing that's different is that this guy Sam has turned up. So obviously you're like shooting around the edges and stuff, but considering you literally were seconds ago trying to get up to Dickie's trailer, surely they must have thought something's a bit off here. It's clearly this Sam guy. But no, I completely get your point. It was very unjust, but then again, probably more fun to play. So I'm more forgiving of it from a story point of view. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It could have been done a bit more amicably, but
Yeah, like me and the guys in the stream were just like, that poor Kayla girl, we've just burnt her beautiful creations. I felt so bad for her. It's a video game, but I feel terrible even now. I played it about an hour ago. It's still haunting my mind. Before I go up to where we talked to Dickie, I just want to say as well, like, we get a text, don't we, about Bess Mitchell, the police officer who's been trying to reach us. She's got our number now, so we know that the police are chasing us, so we kind of have that opinion where we better crack on because the police will stop us at some point. I just feel like I've worsened it for myself by leaving the bar through the back, kind of, leaving, the broken house, via the back door. But then again, I feel like there might be corruption. So, like, I mean, it kind of bleeds into what we're about to talk to next, our conversation with Dickie, but I am a bit like, there's this whole police angle that's going on, and yeah, it's just, I don't know what to make of it, Like, I just feel like I said, after that car scene, I'm not trusting the cops at this point. And then we go up to talk to Dickie, don't we? And he instantly recognises us, and 2 and 2 that I didn't put together was that he was the person, you find out he's the person who broke into the house that, like, hit you earlier on.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but did you think, oh yeah, it's this guy? Because I only found that out, really, when the dialogue told me it was him.
Yeah, no, to be fair, I thought it was going to be him right off the bat. I mean, I think, I might be failing memory, but I think he wears something green. But then the thought come to mind that, yeah, maybe this is, the true perpetrator's not getting their hands dirty. This is somebody else that's, gone and trashed Anna's house. And obviously because he looks the right age profile, and I was thinking, yeah, he looks like he could get out of a house pretty quickly. So as soon as it was almost impulsive, or instinctive rather. As soon as I saw him like go to run away from you, when you meet him at the trailer, I was like, this is going to be the guy that hit me over the head. And then
yeah, no, I mean that's very fair. I mean, I guess one thing that I do want to say is that like he drops his boss's name about who he's supposed to do this meetup with, and it's Declan, the police officer. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, didn't expect it, to be honest. Clearly, obviously, another character that sort of slipped under the radar a little bit. I mean, doesn't he basically go on to say, because you get two choices here, don't you? You can either like shake him up or you can let him continue talking. In my hands, I shook him up twice because I was very aware that if he just kept rambling, I wouldn't get the information I needed. So I just shook him up and said, tell me what I need to know. Like, almost like Lee Everett style when he's talking to, what's his name in Walking Dead season 1? The guy that ultimately steals the boat.
Oh, Vernon.
Vernon, yeah. I basically did that to him. And yeah, I was just like, tell me what I need to know. Who was it? And he was like, oh, yeah, it was Declan. He hit Nick and he died straight away. And he was like, don't tell anyone and this and that. And he started talking about this drug ring that Declan was involved in. And I felt like I was rewarded, actually, for not letting him ramble and for just, shaking it out of him. But what about you?
I let him talk the first one because he was giving information. I thought, I kind of want to hear this. But on the second one, he was rambling about like, oh, they're gonna find me, and I just was like, this isn't valuable to me. So I shook him up, got him back on course. So yeah, I think it went well. So like I did one and the other. So it'll be interesting to see the difference of what happens if you let him speak twice, do one or the other, or do what you did. So we'll have to see on that one. I guess, one thing I want to say, though, is that part of me wonders, although, Declan, I think back and we saw him roughing up, like, a guy in the street, in the other sort of section. I almost still feel like there could be a person above Declan, though, because, we have a crop cup. It didn't shake me too much. I didn't expect him. However, when I've drawn all these, like, dirty cop parallels, I'm thinking it doesn't really surprise me. He probably falsified the evidence of the car crash.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of merit there, but also I'm kind of still hard set on Hugh, because he recognized Tyler when he recognized Richard or Dickie or whatever when he left the pharmacy, and I'm wondering why he left the pharmacy. Like, he was there, and it almost is as if he met up with Hugh or they had an interaction at the counter. So I still think there is merit to my argument, so I am still keeping a real close eye on him. But it'll be really interesting to see how this completely unwinds, right? I don't know if you've got any conclusion parallels, mate.
Yeah, I hope there's more to it. I mean, I don't know how far we are into this game now, maybe 2/3 of the way through. Time will tell, but I hope it's not Declan that's the big bad, because I did think at the time, I was like, ooh, you revealing the big bad this early in the game? And I was thinking that could be a potential anticlimax. I feel like you'd almost want it to have that sort of quality to it where, almost like the silhouette thing that they did earlier on. There was a bit more intrigue and mystery to it that I really liked. When this guy just says Declan, I'm like, I really hope it's not. So, I'm almost hoping that, you're right, that there is something else going on. And in a weird way, I'm going to stick with mine with Walter, because he was the one that was talking to the police, right? Over the emails, saying, oh, I just need to quickly check something on that file. And then he was like, oh, yeah, everything's okay. So, I mean, at the same time, I'm thinking, well, if Dickie's saying that Declan's the one that hit him over the head, then that's, unless Dickie's lying, that's pretty, conclusive. So I don't know. I'm intrigued as to what happens in the next part. I hope there's more to it, but I'm worried that this sort of great momentum that we've had is going to start to slip off now.
Yeah, and I think there is more. I feel like there has to be more. It almost feels like someone would want to use the cops to falsify the evidence, so it almost feels like someone's above the police here using them to tamper with whatever they need. I just don't really see a motive for Declan unless we get more depth. But yeah, if it ended this way, it would be a bit of a bummer. So like, but I continue believing. We're just probably over halfway through the game now, and I think there will be a lot more like twists and turns for us to tease into. But yeah, I'm ready to wrap it up, lad. Don't know about you.
100%. Yeah, ready to get into the next part.
All right, brilliant. Well, we hope you guys are enjoying this analysis series of Twin Mirror. Obviously, you've probably seen the game and you're probably laughing at our theories about how way off we are, but that's the beauty of these games, right? Like we say, it'll be really interesting to see how our choices are going to affect the ending and which one we're going to get. So yeah, we'll see us in the next episode, guys, where we talk more about Twin Mirror. Thank you very much for joining.
See you next time.